idea of using rockets for military purposes goes back hundreds of years, but it has been only in this century that they've become serious weapons. The first attempts at guided missiles came in the First World War, like this curious American effort to create a robot bomb. In the 1920s and 1930s, engineers in America, Germany, and other countries experimented with the first true ballistic missiles. It was Germany which perfected the ballistic missile in World War II with their B-2. A ballistic missile differs from other forms of missiles in two respects. Unlike a cruise missile, it has no wicket, so its lift comes entirely from its rocket engine. Unlike other guided missiles, such as anti-aircraft missiles or anti-tank missiles, its flight path is a simple ballistic arc, taking it from one point to another without significant maneuvering. The B-2 caused thousands of deaths in cities like London and Antwerp, but it had very little military value. The invention of the atomic bomb in 1945 changed all that. A nuclear weapon made any delivery system, whether missile or aircraft, considerably more powerful. In the early 1950s, there was still no consensus over what type of system could be used to carry strategic nuclear weapons. Most countries, including the United States, leaned in favor of the strategic bomb. Early missiles did not have the range or reliability to be entrusted with such deadly payloads. By the mid-1950s, missiles had been improved. There were few missiles available. Ballistic missiles, like the early Atlas and Titan, and cruise missiles, like the Sun. Ballistic missiles eventually emerged as the primary strategic weapon system of the superpowers in the 1960s. Unlike aircraft or cruise missiles, ballistic missiles could not easily be shot down. Early strategic missiles were launched from above-ground shelters, ironically called coffin launchers. As missile accuracy grew, these above-ground launchers became vulnerable to attack by enemy ballistic missiles. But the missiles launched underground into hardened concrete silos. This has remained their configuration until today. Both the missile-launched silo and the launch command center are located underground, so they are safe from all being direct hit. Another alternative was to place the ballistic missiles on a mobile naval platform, such as submarines. Missile accuracy has improved greatly since the late 1960s. Early intercontinental ballistic missiles, like the Atlas or Titan, were accurate to within a few miles. Modern ballistic missiles are accurate to within a few hundred feet. The heart of a ballistic missile's guidance system is an inertial guidance unit, like these units we see here. They contain gyroscopes and other sensors which monitor any deviation from the missile's intended flight path and send corrections to the engine. Another innovation of the 1960s was stellar correction. When the missile enters space on its flight upwards, its guidance system opens a small window. The computer on board checks a star map against the real star pattern and is able to introduce other guidance corrections. The destructive power of missiles has increased with the introduction of multiple independently retargetable re-entry vehicles, called MIRVs. Early missiles, such as the V-2, had only a single warhead. A contemporary missile may have 10 or more. The MIRVs are mounted on a warhead bus. As the bus flies toward the target, it carefully aims each warhead toward its own target and then releases it, enabling a single missile to attack multiple targets. The combination of missile accuracy and MIRV technology has reached the point where even the hardened underground silos are vulnerable to missile attack. The solution to this problem has been to make the missiles mobile again. Both the United States and the Soviet Union have experimented with placing strategic ballistic missiles on large-wheeled truck transporters or on rail. The other alternative to give missiles mobility is the submarine. The United States Armed Forces have favored submarines for missile mobility. The Soviets have favored land mobile missiles. These are strategic bombers, land-based missiles, and submarine-based missiles. The original leg of the triad is the U.S. Air Force's Strategic Bomber Force. Bombers remain an important element since they can be recalled. In times of crisis, bombers can begin to fly toward enemy territory, signaling the enemy leader of the seriousness of the situation. They can be recalled if the crisis subsides. The second leg of the triad is the U.S. Air Force's land-based ballistic missile force. The land-based missile is similar in accuracy to the bomber, but is much faster. A missile launched from the United States can hit a target around the globe in less than an hour. A bomber would take over 6 hours. But a missile cannot be stopped once it has been launched. It contains no self-destruct mechanism, since such a system might be triggered by an enemy. The third leg of the triad is the U.S. Navy's submarine-launched ballistic missile force. Until recently, submarine-launched missiles were not as accurate as their land-based counterparts. The accuracy problem did not exist with the missile itself, but with the submarine. On a land-based missile, the original launch position is very simple to determine. On a submarine-launched missile, not only must the missile be incredibly accurate, but the submarine must have an elaborate navigation system of its own to tell it exactly where it is on the globe to within a few feet. The main advantage of submarine-launched missiles over land-based missiles is their near invulnerability. Once they are underway, deep in the ocean's depths, a nuclear ballistic missile submarine is nearly impossible to detect. Land-based missile silos are easy to locate and so vulnerable to attack. Submarines are nearly impossible to locate and so very difficult to attack. Both the submarine and the land-based ballistic missiles have evolved greatly over the past 30 years. The liquid-propellant Atlas missile was the first intercontinental ballistic missile developed in the United States, able to hit targets on the other side of the globe. Atlas's career in the U.S. Air Force was short-lived, as it could not reach all the targets deemed necessary by Air Force planners. The answer was a larger missile that could carry nuclear warheads thousands of miles further. The Titan II became the United States heavy-lift strategic missile in the early 1960s. It was a huge weapon, standing over 100 feet high. At liftoff, it had a weight of over 165 tons and could reach targets 9,300 miles away. Only 54 Titans were deployed as part of the ICBM force, but with constant improvements, these missiles remained in service until 1987. One of the main problems with the Titan was its reliance on liquid fuel. Liquid rocket fuel proved dangerous to handle. The Air Force pressed forward on safer, solid fuel rocket engines. The new Minuteman strategic missile used solid propellant was much more compact than the Titan. It was originally envisaged as a mobile missile, but those plans were abandoned to achieve operational status more quickly, which it did in 1963. The Minuteman formed the backbone of the U.S. Air Force's strategic deterrent force for over 2 decades. Deterrence is the essence of the strategic nuclear force. This strategy means deterring the enemy armed forces from attacking with their strategic weapons, knowing full well that they would be subjected to a devastating retaliatory blow. The Minuteman remains a critical element of the American deterrent force, with some 950 missiles still in service.
The Minuteman III missile was then deployed in the 1973 to 75 time frame. It is the newest Minuteman missile. It uses the multiple independently retargeted reentry vehicle, or MIRV, and that missile gives us a great deal of capability that the previous generations of Minuteman did not.
What made the Minuteman missile survivable was the way it was based. Dispersed launch silos at launch control centers were dug into the ground and then hardened to protect the missiles from nuclear attack. Because of this basic method, the Minuteman was nicknamed America's Ace in the Hole. The Peacekeeper, originally codenamed MX, is the largest and newest ICBM to enter U.S. Air Force service. It incorporates the latest technology in missile control and navigation systems to achieve incredible reliability and accuracy. The Peacekeeper's intricate guidance system is so sensitive it must be assembled under carefully controlled conditions. As we see here, the guidance system is built in a special facility called a clean room. The Peacekeepers were originally intended to be mobile, to remain survivable by moving on trains that would be nearly impossible for an enemy to continuously locate. Political controversy over the basic mode put the rail mobile concept in limbo, and the Peacekeepers were deployed in traditional silos instead.
The Peacekeeper missile is a completely different missile than the Minuteman missile. It's 71 feet in length. It weighs approximately 195,000 pounds. It is approximately 90 inches in diameter. The missile is a cold launch missile as opposed to a hot launch missile that a Minuteman is. The Peacekeeper missile is ejected from the silo using a steam generating process. Once it is approximately 150 to 200 feet above the surface of the ground, then the engines of the missile ignite. Peacekeeper does have 10 independently retargeted vehicles as opposed to 3 for the Minuteman III.
The rail-mobile Peacekeeper remains a model for future ballistic missile deployments. Another approach for mobile survivability is the small ICBM, commonly called the Midgetman. It is towed behind an all-terrain wheeled tractor and can roam the plains of the central and western United States during times of crisis to prevent its detection and attack by enemy forces. The weapon is much smaller than the Peacekeeper and so easier to transport. It carries only a single nuclear warhead compared to the Peacekeeper's 10 MIRVs. Hiding missiles at sea using a submarine was first studied by the Germans during World War II. The idea finally reached fruition in the United States and Soviet navies in the late 1950s. In the United States Navy, the first nuclear-armed ballistic missile submarine became operational in 1960, armed with the Polaris A-1 fleet ballistic missile. The Navy's fleet ballistic missiles evolved over the next 30 years. The Polaris A-3 achieved a range of 2,500 nautical miles. It was ultimately replaced by the Poseidon C-3 fleet ballistic missile, which was the first naval ballistic missile with multiple warheads. Trident followed Poseidon. The Trident I missile gave the United States a 4,000-mile fleet ballistic missile. It served as the predecessor to the newest and most powerful naval ballistic missile, the Trident II, which was tested at Cape Canaveral in July 1987. It can launch 10 nuclear weapons to a range greater than 4,000 miles. It uses the latest technology in electronics and composites to achieve a high degree of accuracy and reliability. What makes the Trident and the other FBMs unique is their launch platform. Submarines are often described as the ultimate stealth machines. The submarines are virtually undetectable in the vast expanse of the world's oceans, thus keeping their missiles safe from attack. Designing and manufacturing the submarine force and their intricate missiles is an arduous and expensive task. Modern ballistic missile submarines are amongst the world's most expensive weapons, costing over $1 billion. But when deployed, they provide the United States with an important leg of the triad that helps to deter nuclear war. destructive power of strategic ballistic missiles means that exceptional steps must be taken to ensure that they are not accidentally launched. It is the task of the men and women of the United States Air Force's strategic missile wings to make certain that these vital deterrent weapons are ready at a moment's notice, but only after the proper instructions from the highest command authorities.
The SAC has 6 intercontinental ballistic missile wings today. 2 wings located in North Dakota, that's at Minot Air Force Base and Grand Forks Air Force Base. 1 wing in Montana, that's Malmstrom Air Force Base. 1 wing in South Dakota, Ellsworth Air Force Base. 1 wing in Missouri, that's Whiteman Air Force Base. And our wing here in Wyoming, F.E. Warren Air Force Base. Together, they bring 1,000 ICBMs to SAC's nuclear deterrent force.
The 90th Strategic Missile Wing at F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne is responsible for 200 of those missiles, scattered at sites covering 12,600 square miles in Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming.
The wing here at F.E. Warren Air Force Base has the same mission as any of the other 5 missile wings, which is to maintain on alert a certain number of intercontinental ballistic missiles and have launch crews trained and ready to launch those missiles if told to do so by the President of the United States. Here at F.E. Warren Air Force Base, we are in control of 200 intercontinental ballistic missiles. We have 150 Minuteman III and 50 Peacekeeper missiles. We're the only missile wing that has the Peacekeeper missile today. It's our responsibility to put those missiles on alert in their silos. It's our responsibility to train people to man the launch control centers. It's our responsibility to train people to go out and keep our missile field secure. And it's our responsibility to provide all the support services people need to carry out that mission.
Keeping the ICBMs on alert is the responsibility of the men and women of the wing operations staff and the 4 assigned squadrons.
Each squadron is comprised of 50 missiles. 50 missiles then are controlled by 5 capsules. Each launch control center or capsule is manned by a 2-man crew, and this 2-man crew has primary responsibility for 10 ICBMs within its flight. A crew can at any time assume command or control of additional missiles in flights of 10, so it is conceivable that one crew would be monitoring the status of the entire squadron of 50 missiles.
One of the 90th Strategic Missile Wing's subordinate units is the 400th Strategic Missile Squadron, the only squadron equipped with a new Peacekeeper missile.
The squadron consists of 60 to 65 officers. Most of them are lieutenants and junior captains. They average 22 to 23 years of age. Missileers are assigned to units from, of course, the 3 commissioning sources that we have: the Air Force Academy, Air Force ROTC, and Officer Training School. They're assigned to missile duties, and once they are assigned to missile duties, attend the 4315th Combat Crew Training School at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California, a SAC-owned and run school. There, for 14 weeks, they undergo a rigorous curriculum of training to include weapon system training, actually going through checklists that are necessary in order to operate the weapon system, as well as a very intense program of emergency war order, or EWO, procedures, ensuring that they, in fact, understand their primary mission while they are on crew. After the 14-week period of time, they undergo a very demanding evaluation in a missile procedures trainer or simulator. They are evaluated as to how well they do in such areas as simulated fires, power losses, communications degradations or problems that they might experience, as well as an evaluation of their emergency war order procedure capability. Once they complete that evaluation, they are assigned to the wings. They come here, and for 30 days we give them additional training. This includes, again, weapon system training as well as emergency war order training, just to make sure that they understand our local procedures, as well as to ensure to ourselves that they are ready to pull combat alert.
Pulling alert means responsibility for 10 enormously destructive nuclear-armed missiles. These young officers perform their duties in a command center buried deep underground. Just 2 officers man each of these launch control facilities. The newer member of the team serves as the deputy flight commander.
The primary duty of the deputy is to provide support to the commander. The commander is the sole person that makes the decisions. However, the deputy is very, very vital in that if there was a critical decision to be made between the 2 of us, only the 2 of us to make this decision, I would provide him with the inputs that I have, the information that I have to make that decision. The final decision, however, is his, but he leans very heavily on the deputy to help him make that decision. And in addition to that, the deputy is also considered the communications expert.
After 2 years of duty serving as the deputy, young missileers go through another training program to become a flight commander, the officer in overall charge of the Launch Command Center.
The commander is responsible for all activities on the launch control facility itself. That is the security police topside that are there to respond to security situations. He's responsible for all actions that are done in accordance with technical orders. You do them, they have to be done right. If they're not done right, the commander is the one responsible for those actions. There are 10 launch facilities within a flight. The commander of that launch control center is in charge of that flight. That is all of the day-to-day security, the maintenance activities that go on. He is there to ensure that it is done proper and correct in accordance with SAC directives. Responsibility is the key to command, and when you're there, you're in charge.
Standing alert means long days. The control centers are widely dispersed across the prairies.
A day you're going on alert starts pretty early in the morning. As a deputy, I'm responsible for picking up the vehicle that the commander and I ride out to the sighting. I will pick that vehicle up about 0700 in the morning. At 07:15, my commander and myself would get together with the rest of the squadron crews going on alert that day. We have a pre-departure briefing with the squadron. Then at 07:30, we have a pre-departure briefing with the rest of the squadrons going on alert. The entire wing gets together, 20 crews.
Road and response conditions are green and 1 throughout the wing. Weather will be briefed by Staff Sergeant Daly. Maintenance will be briefed by Tech Sergeant Smith. And comm will be briefed by Senior Airman Cardwell.
Following the morning briefing, conducted without fail every day of the year, an alert crew can spend up to 3 hours driving to its launch control facility. There, the incoming crew receives a status report from the facility's security personnel.
We have no LF checks to do in the flight area today. We're in road condition green, response condition 1.
Gotten any SAMs this morning because of the
Not
madness?
this morning.
I guess we'll get some later then. We're ready to go downstairs now.
Ready, sir? Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Echo, Bravo, Bravo. Thank you.
Downstairs means the control center, over 50 feet below the ground in a reinforced steel and concrete capsule hardened to withstand nuclear attack. The launch control center, occupied by the 2 officers, is located behind enormous blast doors. The control area is completely sealed off from other elements of the launch facility. The crew's first task is to carefully check emergency and life support equipment that may have to be used if their launch control center comes under attack. They are then admitted into the actual nerve center of the missile launch facility by the previous crew who they will replace. The Launch Control Center, or LCC, is contained within yet another concrete-hardened capsule.
This is our part.
Once inside the LCC, the new crew is briefed on the status of the missiles. After inspecting the center, they place their own locks on the safe, which contains the vital keys that are necessary to launch the ICBMs. Every procedure is carefully controlled by SAC's rules to ensure that unauthorized launch cannot take place.
Day to day, when a crew assumes alert at a launch facility, Turning keys, that is, launching missiles, is not the primary job day to day. It's monitoring the status of those missiles so that in the event those are required, that is, an actual launch, that those missiles will respond accordingly. Missiles break, they must be fixed. So maintenance is a big part of our job.
Inside the missile silos themselves, maintenance technicians support the launch crew to keep all the missiles at a high state of readiness all the time.
These folks tend to be 20 to 21 years of age. First-termers in the Air Force, many of them are, and a great deal of responsibility and authority is given to them to ensure that they do the job right. And I think they do a very fine job based on the fact that our sorties stay on alert.
Okay, press and hold, LR view.
Maintenance does a tremendous job in providing us missiles that are ready to go at a moment's notice.
The enormous destructive power of these ballistic missiles demands the utmost care and dedication in the handling of these systems.
Did you skip this one? Yeah. How you doing? I don't know. I'm gonna skip to help you remember that because there's maintenance need to come out later.
The standard for performance is very, very high. But that's what the American public demands, and that's what these people deliver. When you're dealing with nuclear weapons, it can't be any other way.
The main responsibility for the enormously destructive weapons in these silos falls on the two officers who control the weapons. Can the young men and women who wear the title of missileer accept that responsibility? Can they launch nuclear weapons if they are ordered to do so?
I have no doubt that I would think about what's happening topside if, in fact, it ever did happen, but I'm certain that all of the crew members would be able to do the job.
Paradoxically, nuclear missiles are the only weapons whose success depends on never being used. To this day, peace between the superpowers has been maintained by a balance of terror posed by the ballistic missiles.